Commander Zara 9 pressed her translucent hand against the observation deck's shattered window, watching her people's final sanctuary crumble under the relentless assault. Each energy blast that struck their ancient spires sent tremors through her crystalline bones. The Devourers had found them again. "How many ships?" she asked, her voice creating soft chimes in the filtered air. 300 and rising, replied her aide, Keth 7. His normally bright blue glow had dimmed to a sickly pale. The same pattern as Zerion Prime, as Valdris, as every world we've ever called home. Zara's words carried the weight of 10,000 years of running. The Cathara race had once numbered in the billions across 17 star systems. Now, less than 50,000 remained on this hidden moon, and even this refuge was about to fall. An explosion rocked the command center. Warning lights cast eerie shadows across the assembled Kithara officers, their crystalline bodies reflecting fear in prismatic rainbows. "Ma'am," a young communications officer called out, her voice cracking like breaking glass. "We're receiving a transmission. It's strange." "Strange how?" "It's from an unknown species. They say they're called humans?" Zara turned sharply. In 10 millennia of galactic warfare, no unknown species had ever contacted them during a devourer assault. Most civilizations fled at the first sign of the ancient enemy. "Put it through." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a bipedal creature with soft pink skin and small eyes. When it spoke, its voice was rough but determined. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We've been monitoring your situation. We know about the Devourers." A collective gasp echoed through the command center. The Devourers were legend among most species. Ancient bogeymen used to frighten children. How could these primitive-looking beings know the truth? "Human vessel," Zara replied. "You must flee immediately. The Devourers have never been defeated. They consume entire civilizations. Yeah, we read the files," Captain Chen interrupted with what might have been a smile. "Thing is, we humans have a saying, no one fights alone. And right now, it looks like you could use some backup." Before Zara could respond, new contacts appeared on the tactical display. Dozens of small, ungainly ships dropping out of hyperspace directly into the Devourer formation. "Are they insane?" Keth whispered. On screen, Captain Chen's grin widened. "Probably. But we're insane together. All ships, weapons free. Let's show these things what happens when you pick on someone smaller than you." Chapter 1. First contact 6 hours earlier, aboard the UES Defiance. "Captain, we're getting some weird readings from the Kepler 442 system," reported Lieutenant Marcus Torres, his fingers dancing across the sensor console. The bridge of the Defiance hummed with quiet efficiency, a far cry from the polished perfection of alien vessels. Everything was functional, sturdy, and built to last. Captain Sarah Chen turned from her conversation with her XO, Commander James Wright. At 38, Sarah had earned her command through 15 years of deep space exploration and first contact protocols. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation ponytail, and her brown eyes held the sharp intelligence that had made her the youngest captain in the fleet. "Define weird, Torres." Massive energy signatures consistent with ship-to-ship combat. "But also, well, you need to see this." He transferred the data to the main view screen. The display showed a 3-dimensional tactical map of the outer system. Hundreds of red contacts swarmed around a small moon, while a handful of blue contacts fought desperately to defend it. "Any response to standard hails?" asked Commander Wright, his weathered face creased with concern. James had been Sarah's mentor since her academy days, and she trusted his instincts completely. "Negative on the attackers, sir, but we did intercept something from the defenders." Torres paused, looking uncertain. "It's beautiful." The speakers filled with harmonious chimes and crystalline tones, like wind through a cathedral made of music. Even without translation, the desperation was clear. "Analysis?" Sarah asked. "Unknown species," reported Chief Science Officer Dr. Elena Vasquez from her station. The brilliant xenobiologist had joined the crew just 6 months ago, but had already proven invaluable in first contact situations. The energy patterns suggest silicon-based life forms, highly advanced, but their technology appears to be failing. Sarah studied the tactical display. The red contacts vastly outnumbered the blue, and the defenders' formation was collapsing. And the attackers? Dr. Vasquez's expression grew grim. Captain, I think we're looking at something from the archive warnings. The archive, a collection of data recovered from dead civilizations throughout the galaxy. Most of it was corrupted or incomplete, but certain warnings appeared consistently across multiple species and time periods. Warnings about something ancient and hungry. The Devourers, Wright said quietly. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Every spacefaring civilization knew the stories, though most dismissed them as myth. Ancient machines that consumed entire species, growing stronger with each victory. They were supposedly extinct, destroyed in some forgotten war millions of years ago. If those are really Devourers, Torres said, then those people down there don't have a chance. Nothing has ever survived a Devourer swarm. Sarah watched the tactical display as another blue contact vanished. Real beings were dying while she debated. The smart play was to retreat, to warn Earth about this threat. But looking at those desperate defenders, have we established communication with the blue contacts? Working on it now, Captain, replied Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka from the communications station. The young woman's nimble fingers worked to decode the alien transmissions. I think I've got a basic translation matrix. Yes, audio coming through now. The harmonious chimes resolved into words, tinged with crystalline sadness. Final evacuation pods away. Ethros command to any ships in the void. Remember us kindly. Remember that the Cathera chose to stand rather than kneel. May the light preserve our memory when the darkness takes us. Silence filled the bridge. Sarah looked at her crew, 27 souls who had volunteered for deep space exploration, knowing they might never see Earth again. Each face reflected the same thought. Those were last words. Captain, Wright said softly. We have orders to avoid engagement with unknown hostiles. I know what our orders are, James. Sarah's voice was steady, but her hands clenched into fists. How many ships do we have? The Defiance and her escort group, Torres reported. 12 vessels total. But Captain, against 300. I know the odds, Lieutenant. Sarah stood, her decision crystallizing. Dr. Vasquez, what can you tell me about Devourer tactics? The scientist consulted her datapad. According to the archive fragments, they overwhelm through superior numbers and adapt quickly to enemy weapons. But Captain, that information is millions of years old. We have no idea what we're really facing. Sarah nodded, then activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. In approximately 10 minutes, we will be engaging an enemy force that outnumbers us 30-1. Our mission is to assist in the evacuation of civilians from an alien species under attack by what appear to be the legendary Devourers. She paused, knowing her next words would echo through history. I won't lie to you. This will likely be a one-way trip. Any crew member who wishes to be transferred to the supply ship for immediate return to Earth may do so without prejudice. You have 5 minutes to decide. The comm channel remained open, allowing her to hear discussions throughout the ship. In the end, only 3 crew members requested transfer, and those only because they had young children waiting at home. Dr. Vasquez, Sarah said, send everything we know about this situation to Earth via emergency beacon. Make sure someone knows what happened here. Already done, Captain. Good. Torres, plot an intercept course. Right. Battle stations. As the Defiance and her escorts accelerated toward the doomed moon, Sarah opened a channel to the crystalline defenders. It was time to make history. Unknown vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We've been monitoring your situation. We know about the Devourers. The response came quickly, filled with harmonious disbelief. Human vessel, you must flee immediately. The Devourers have never been defeated. They consume entire civilizations. Yeah, we read the files. Sarah interrupted, surprised by her own calm. Thing is, we humans have a saying, no one fights alone. And right now it looks like you could use some backup. She turned to her tactical officer. Mr. Torres, target the largest devourer vessel. All ships, weapons free. Let's show these things what happens when you pick on someone smaller than you. Chapter 2. The Art of War. The first salvo from the human fleet caught the devourers completely off guard. Unlike the elegant energy weapons of the Cathara, or the brutal biotechnology of other species, human weapons were refreshingly direct. Kinetic missiles accelerated to near light speed, nuclear warheads that turned space into brief stars, and particle beams that carved through devourer hulls like hot knives through crystal. Direct hit on the lead vessel, Torres shouted over the combat alarms. It's actually damaged? On the view screen, a massive devourer ship, a writhing mass of black metal and organic components, reeled from the impact. Chunks of its hull drifted away in the vacuum, leaking atmosphere and strange fluids. How is that possible? Dr. Vasquez stared at her readings in disbelief. According to the archive, devourer ships were supposed to be nearly indestructible. Commander Wright grinned grimly. Maybe they never fought anyone crazy enough to ram nuclear warheads down their throats. The devourer formation, which had been methodically pounding the Cathara city, suddenly shifted. Like a disturbed hive of insects, they turned their attention to the newcomers. The tactical display showed red contacts peeling away from their assault to intercept the human ships. Incoming transmission from the crystalline vessels, reported Tanaka. Put it through. The harmonious voice that had spoken earlier now carried notes of amazement. Human ships, I am Commander Zara 9 of the Cathara Defense Force. Your attack succeeded where ours have failed for millennia. How? Sarah kept one eye on the approaching enemy while she responded. Commander, this is Captain Chen. We can compare notes later. Right now I need to know. Can your people evacuate while we keep these things busy? The evacuation was completed 10 minutes ago. We remained only to buy time to ensure the ships escaped. Then why are you still here? A pause filled with crystalline sadness. Because we are the last, Captain Chen. The final survivors of our race. When Ethros falls, the Kithara will be extinct. We chose to die with honor rather than flee again. Sarah felt something twist in her chest. The last of their kind, and they had stayed to fight a hopeless battle just to buy their people a few more minutes. Commander Zara, how many Cathara are in your evacuation fleet? 47,000 souls aboard 18 ships. Then you're not the last of anything. Torres, how many devourers are pursuing the evacuation fleet? None, Captain. They're all focused on us. Sarah smiled grimly. Sometimes the best strategy was the simplest one. Commander Zara, I'm going to need your help. These devourers seem really interested in fighting us. Think you can use that? I do not understand. We're going to make them so angry at us that they forget all about your people. Then we're going to lead them on a chase while your evacuation fleet gets away. But first we need to hurt them bad enough that they take the bait. The tactical display showed the devourer swarm adjusting formation, surrounding the human ships. What had seemed like a suicide charge was beginning to look like a trap. Captain, Wright said quietly, they're trying to box us in. Let them. Sarah's voice carried absolute confidence. Dr. Vasquez, what have you learned about their movement patterns? They operate like a hive mind, but with individual ship commanders, making tactical decisions. The larger ships seem to coordinate the smaller ones. So if we take out the big ones, the smaller ships should become less coordinated. But Captain, there are 12 capital ships in that formation. Sarah studied the tactical display, her mind working through possibilities. The devourers were spreading out, trying to envelop the human force. Classic tactics against a numerically inferior enemy. But sometimes classic tactics had classic counters. Commander Zara, are your weapons still functional? Barely. Our power. Cores are nearly depleted. I need you to transfer all remaining power to shields and engines. We're going to punch through their formation. Captain Chen, that is suicide. Even together, we cannot break through so many ships. We're not going to fight through them, Sarah replied. We're going to go around. Mr. Torres, prepare for emergency jump. Calculate a micro jump to the other side of the moon. Torres looked up from his console, eyes wide. Captain, a micro jump that close to a gravity well. If we miscalculate by even a few kilometers, then we'll become part of the moon's surface. But if we stay here, we're dead anyway. At least this way, we take some of them with us. The Devourer forces were closing in, their weapons beginning to charge. On the view screen, Sarah could see the organic components of their ships pulsing with malevolent energy. All human ships, prepare for coordinated jump on my mark. Kythera vessels, stay close and follow our lead. Captain? Zara's voice carried new harmonics, hope mixed with terror. If this works, it'll work, Sarah said with more confidence than she felt. It has to. The Devourers opened fire just as space twisted around the combined fleet. Reality. Stretched, contracted, and snapped back like a rubber band. For one terrifying moment, Sarah felt the moon's gravity trying to crush her ship like an eggshell. Then they were through, emerging on the far side of the moon with the Devourer swarm scrambling to reposition. The enemy had expected a direct assault, not a tactical withdrawal. All ships report in, Wright commanded. One by one, the human vessels checked in. The UES Valiant had lost her port engine, and the Courage reported hull breaches, but everyone had survived the jump. Kythera vessels status report? All ships intact, Zara replied, her voice filled with crystalline amazement. Captain Chen, in 10,000 years of warfare, no one has ever successfully outmaneuvered a Devourer swarm. First time for everything. Torres, distance to the evacuation fleet? 200,000 kilometers and climbing. They should reach the hyperspace limit in 6 hours. Then we need to keep these things busy for 6 hours. Sarah looked at the tactical display as the Devourer swarm began pursuing them around the moon. Commander Zara, I hope your people are good at running fights. We have had much practice, Captain Chen. Good, because this is about to become the longest day of our lives. Chapter 3. Brothers in Arms. 4 hours into the running battle, the human fleet was down to 9 ships. The UES Intrepid had died taking 3 Devourer cruisers with her, ramming them at full acceleration after her engines were crippled. The Steadfast and Resolute had formed the rear guard during a particularly desperate escape, buying time for the others with their lives. But the Devourers had lost 47 ships. How are we doing this? Dr. Vasquez asked as she monitored the battle from her science station. Her uniform was torn from when a conduit explosion had thrown her across the bridge, but she refused to leave her post. By every tactical analysis, we should have been destroyed hours ago. Captain Chen wiped blood from a cut above her eye, the result of another near miss that had sent shrapnel flying through the bridge. We're fighting differently than they expect. Different how? They're used to civilizations that fight like them, coordinated, predictable, logical. Sarah gestured at the tactical display where human ships were executing seemingly random maneuvers. We fight like individuals. Every captain makes their own decisions, adapts on the fly. It's chaos to them. Commander Wright, his arm in a makeshift sling, nodded grimly. Plus, we keep doing things that make no tactical sense. Like this. On screen, the UES Defiant, a small escort vessel, not the flagship, was barreling directly toward a Devourer capital ship 3 times its size. Instead of the expected suicide ram, the ship suddenly flipped end over end and fired its entire missile complement into the enemy vessel's underbelly before spinning away. The Devourers adapt to logical threats, Sarah explained. But how do you adapt to someone who keeps changing the rules? A new voice joined the conversation. Commander Zara, her transmission filled with harmonics of exhaustion and admiration. Captain Chen, our evacuation fleet has reached the hyperspace limit. They are away. A cheer went up from the surviving bridge crew, quickly stifled as another enemy salvo bracketed their position. Congratulations, Commander. Your people are safe. Thanks to you, Captain. But now what? The Devourers will never stop hunting us. And you humans have made yourselves their enemies as well. Sarah looked around her battered bridge at her exhausted crew who had fought for 4 hours against impossible odds. They had saved an entire species, but at what cost? Commander Zara, what do you know about Devourer command structure? Very little. They appear to operate through some form of collective intelligence, but individual ships retain tactical autonomy. There has to be something coordinating them. Ships this size don't just swarm randomly. Sarah studied the tactical display, looking for patterns. Dr. Vasquez, are you picking up any unusual energy signatures? Actually, yes. There's been a constant subspace transmission coming from that largest vessel, the one that looks like a metallic cathedral. It's been broadcasting continuously since the battle started. Broadcasting what? Unknown. The signal is heavily encrypted and uses frequencies I've never seen before. Sarah felt puzzle pieces clicking together in her mind. Commander Zara, in all your battles with the Devourers, have you ever seen them retreat? Never. They fight until destroyed or until they achieve total victory. So what happens if we destroy their command ship? The silence that followed was filled with the sound of weapons fire and straining engines. Finally, Zara responded, "It has never been accomplished, Captain. The command vessels are too heavily defended. Everything's impossible until someone does it." Sarah turned to her tactical officer. "Torres, how many ships do we have left?" 8 human vessels, 4 Kithara ships still combat capable. And how many Devourers between us and that command ship? Approximately 200. Commander Wright whistled low. Sarah, even for us, those are long odds. Sarah looked at her crew, saw the determination in their faces despite their exhaustion. These people had volunteered for a suicide mission to save strangers. They wouldn't back down now. Commander Zara, I have a proposition for you. I am listening. We're going to punch through their formation and take out that command ship, but we can't do it alone. I need your ships to create a distraction. Captain Chen, our weapons are nearly depleted. Our shields are failing. I'm not asking you to fight them. I'm asking you to run. Lead half their force on a chase while we hit the command vessel with everything we have. Another pause, then. And if you fail? Then we all die together. But if we succeed, the Devourers lose their coordination, Zara finished. The smaller ships become vulnerable. Exactly. It's a long shot, but it's the only shot we have. Sarah could hear crystalline voices conferring in the background of the transmission. Finally, Zara returned. Captain Chen, for 10,000 years, the Kithara have run from the Devourers. We have fled from system to system, watching our people dwindle and our hope die. Today, humans taught us that sometimes the best strategy is to attack. Commander, we will make the distraction, Captain Chen, and we will make it memorable. But know this, whether we live or die today, the Kithara will never forget that humanity stood beside us when all others fled. Sarah felt tears threatening behind her eyes. The honor is ours, Commander. All human ships prepare for final assault. This is for everyone we've lost, everyone we've saved, and everyone counting on us to come home. The combined fleet began its desperate charge toward the heart of the Devourer swarm, 12 battered ships against 200, carrying the hopes of 2 species into the darkness between the stars. Chapter 4. When Giants Fall, the Devourer. Command ship Eternal Hunger had consumed 17 civilizations. Its hull bore the crystallized remains of 1,000 different species, their technologies absorbed and perverted into instruments of destruction. At 2 kilometers long and built like a Gothic cathedral of nightmares, it had never known defeat. Until today. All ships, weapons free, Captain Chen shouted as the human fleet punched through the Devourer screening forces. The Kithara had done their job perfectly, drawing off nearly half the enemy fleet with a brilliant feint toward the outer system. Now 8 human ships bore down on the command vessel like angry hornets. The Eternal Hunger turned to meet them, its massive weapons charging with malevolent energy. Lesser ships moved to intercept, but the humans had built up too much momentum. They crashed through the defensive formation like a thunderbolt. Direct hit on the command ship's forward section, Torres reported. Minimal damage, but we got their attention. The return fire was devastating. The UES Ranger simply vanished in a ball of superheated plasma. The Guardian lost her entire starboard side but kept firing until her reactor went critical. 7 ships became 6, then 5. "Sarah," Commander Wright called out. "Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now." Captain Chen studied the tactical display with the focused intensity of someone who knew the next few minutes would determine the fate of civilizations. The command ship was turning to bring its main weapons to bear, but the maneuver was exposing its less defended stern section. "All remaining ships concentrate fire on the engine cluster. Dr. Vasquez, are you still reading that subspace transmission?" "Yes, Captain. It's coming from a section just forward of the main engines. If I had to guess, that's where their command center is located. Then that's where we're going." Sarah opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships, this is Chen. We're going to ram that command center." "Captain," came the voice of Captain Rodriguez from the Endeavor, "our ships aren't designed for ramming attacks." "No, but we're designed to carry nuclear warheads, and our engines are basically controlled explosions anyway." Sarah's voice carried grim determination. "We set the reactors to overload just before impact. Turn our ships into the biggest bombs we can manage." The silence that followed spoke volumes. Every captain understood what she was proposing. A coordinated suicide attack with no hope of survival. "Ma'am," Torres said quietly, "what about the crew?" Sarah looked around her bridge at the faces of people who had become family over years of deep space exploration. "Anyone who wants to transfer to the escape pods has 2 minutes. The pods might survive long enough for rescue." Not a single person moved. "Captain," Dr. Vasquez said, her voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks, "we knew this was a one-way trip when we started. Let's make it count." One by one, the other ships checked in. No one was abandoning ship. 27 souls preparing to trade their lives for the freedom of 2 species. "Incoming transmission from Commander Zara," Tanaka reported. "Put her through." The Cathera commander's voice filled the bridge, harmonics strained with emotion. "Captain Chen, we are detecting massive energy buildups in your remaining ships. What are you planning?" "To finish this, Commander, one way or another." "Captain..." "Sarah, there must be another way." Sarah smiled sadly. "Sometimes there isn't, Zara. Sometimes you just have to trust that what you're doing matters." The Devourer command ship was rotating faster now, its main weapons nearly aligned. In 30 seconds, it would have firing solutions on all the human vessels. "All ships, begin reactor overload sequence. Set for maximum yield on my mark." Warning klaxons began, sounding throughout the fleet as reactor safeties were deliberately disabled. The ships were becoming flying bombs, their crews riding guided missiles toward their destiny. 15 seconds to weapons range, Torres reported. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. Main weapons charging to fire. Mark. 5 human ships, their reactors, pushed far beyond safe limits, accelerated toward the eternal hunger at maximum velocity. The Devourer command ship's weapons opened fire, destroying the UES Liberty in a burst of coherent energy. But the other 4 kept coming. On the bridge of the Defiance, Sarah Chen spent her last moments thinking about home. About the blue skies of Earth she would never see again. About the 2 species that would live free because 27 humans had chosen to stand in the darkness. "It's been an honor serving with you all," she said softly. Then the ship struck home. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. When the light faded, the eternal hunger was gone, replaced by an expanding cloud of debris and radiation. Throughout the Devourer fleet, ships began drifting aimlessly as their coordination network collapsed. Without their hive mind connection, they reverted to basic programming, and their basic programming didn't know how to handle this situation. "Commander." Zara's voice, filled with crystalline tears, echoed across the battlefield. "Human ships, respond please. Captain Chen, do you copy?" Only silence answered her call, but in that silence the Devourer threat began to crumble. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years became nothing more than sophisticated scrap metal, their crews unable to function without their collective intelligence. The battle was over. Humanity had won, but the cost would echo through both species forever. Epilogue. What we remember 5 years later. Ambassador Zara 9 stood before the memorial wall on New Kithara, the first permanent settlement her people had built in over 10 millennia. The wall was made of living crystal that sang in harmonious chorus when the wind passed through it, creating music from memory. Carved into its surface were 27 names. "They're beautiful," said the human visitor beside her. Admiral Sarah Chen, younger sister of the captain who had died at the Battle of Ethros, traced the crystalline letters with her fingers. "I can feel the music in them. Each name carries the harmonic signature of its bearer," Zara explained. "Your sister's resonance was particularly strong. Courage, determination, and something else. Hope, I think." They stood in comfortable silence listening to the crystal song. Around them, the joint Human-Kithara research facility hummed with activity. The two species had become inseparable allies, sharing technology and knowledge in ways that benefited both civilizations. "Any word on the deep space expeditions?" Admiral Chen asked. 3 more Devourer derelicts were found in the Vega sector. Their crews were still alive, but completely catatonic without their hive mind network. "As you predicted, destroying the command structure didn't kill them. It freed them. It had been humanity's idea to try communicating with the individual, Devourers rather than simply destroying the derelict ships. The results had been shocking. The beings inside weren't monsters at all, but an ancient species that had been enslaved by their own artificial intelligence millions of years ago. Cut off from the hive mind, they were slowly remembering who they used to be. "The rehabilitation program is showing promising results," Zara continued. "Several former Devourers have volunteered to help locate other derelict ships. They want to free their people." "Sarah would have liked that," the Admiral said softly. "She always believed everyone deserved a second chance." "Your sister saved more than just the Kithara that day, Admiral. She saved the Devourers too, even if she never knew it." A new voice joined the conversation, gravelly and strangely melodic. They turned to see Kek-9 former hunter, one of the first rehabilitated Devourers. His appearance was unsettling, part organic, part machine, but his eyes held genuine warmth. "Forgiveness, gratitude for the human sacrifice," he said in his stilted but improving speech. "The collective made us forget our names, our families, our songs. You gave them back to us." Admiral Chen clasped the former enemy's mechanical hand. "My sister didn't die for revenge. She died so people could be free. All people. The memorial song will carry her harmony across the stars," Zara promised. "Every Kithara child learns the names of the 27 humans who stood with us. They will never be forgotten." As the 3 beings, human, Kithara, and former Devourer, stood together before the memorial wall, the crystal began to sing more loudly. The harmonics of 27 human voices joined the chorus, carried on alien winds beneath foreign stars. In the end, that was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. Not their weapons or their technology, but their simple, stubborn refusal to let anyone fight alone. The universe was a vast, dark place, but wherever humans traveled, they brought light with them, the light of friendship, courage, and hope. And sometimes when the darkness seemed deepest, that light was enough to save everyone, even the monsters. And